better day starts with a better breakfast at Subway. Choose what you love, from the better-for-you Western egg white muffin melt to the delicious double bacon and cheese omelet on toasty flatbread. Try it with juicy tomatoes and spicy jalapenos. Let Subway help you build your better breakfast today. Subway. Eat fresh. The BS Report is a free-flowing conversation that occasionally touches on mature subjects.
First of all,
This is the BS Report with Bill Simmons.
it might be cool, I don't know. And if it's not, I don't care.
The BS Report with Bill Simmons.
Bill Simmons works for ESPN. He's also named the Sports Guy, and he writes a comical sports column. He must be a popular dude.
The BS Report.
It's got a real dirty sound, like a rusty steak knife cutting through a well-aged steak.
Now.
Here's Bill Simmons.
Welcome to the BS Report. Sunny day here in Southern California, as always. And this is a treat, because one of my favorite wrestlers of all time on the Subway Fresh Take Hotline right now, recently retired, calling from San Antonio, where it's probably about 120 degrees right now. Shawn Michaels, the Heartbreak Kid, what's happening?
Hello, and it is at least 100 degrees here.
I thought people lived in San Antonio, but then got out of there in July and August. I thought that was the rule.
Not us. We're not smart enough for that. We spend a lot of time in the water.
SummerSlam coming up this week, and you're retired. That's it. You're out.
Yeah. No. It's all passing me by. But yeah, actually, you know what? I'm looking forward to it. I mean, it's this Sunday. It's nice to be on the other side. You know, I say everybody asks me, like, hey, do you get that itch or anything like that? And I think to myself, no, I don't. I enjoy being on the other side. I mean, it was the pay-per-views, especially, SummerSlam, WrestleMania, the Royal Rumble. Those are the ones that, you really want to deliver for. And there's a lot of anxiety, a lot of hard work you put into that. And, I'm thankful to have, peace of mind going into this weekend as opposed to what I used to have.
You walked away in late March after WrestleMania. I'm going to say it was 22? No, 24. No, how many? 26.
Yes, this last one, 26, yes.
26, yeah. I was thinking 20, but then it was the 25th anniversary. And it was a good match. It was actually a little emotional. I wrote a column about it. It felt like the end of an era for me. I know you were my favorite wrestler of that generation. Definitely on my my Mount Rushmore with Macho Man, Snuka, and I don't know who the fourth would be, but it was an emotional night. What was the reaction in the days after that you were getting from fans?
Well, I tell you, it was emotional for me. It was emotional for everybody, and that's what I got from everybody. I mean, it really was. In all the interviews I've ever done, I always talked about WrestleMania. There's so much of it that's all real to us, and I think, and that's certainly what that moment was for me, and for all the people that I worked with, and for all the people that have watched me and followed me over the years. I mean, this is something that I have spent the greater part of my life doing since I was a very young man, and it was coming to an end, and it's not something that you do easy. I mean, so it was, pardon the pun, but it was raw. It was raw. And it was emotional, and I think that's the way it should have been, because that's the way that I did absolutely everything in the 26 years that I did that line of work. There was always a part of Shawn Michaels, I guess, that was that was character or gimmick or whatever it is you want to call it. But for the most part, it was me. It was a kid from San Antonio living out his dream, but with that, when dreams come true, it's an emotional roller coaster. I mean, if you look at if you look at my career in total context, that's what it was. And the end was was emotional for me, and everybody that was a part of it.
I thought it was interesting. The thing that separates the good wrestlers from the great wrestlers are the guys who can put the other guys over. which is something that I think you were as good at like anybody other than Ric Flair. I thought you were the two best at just putting the other guy over. And it was interesting to me that you lost your last match and you kept Undertaker's streak alive. Was that something, did you think, I kind of want to win my last match, just the last one, or did you feel like that was the right way to go out?
You know what? I mean, I honestly, it's funny because I felt like it was, again, it was in perfect portrayal of what, me, Shawn Michaels, the character, whatever, everything that he sort of encapsulated, which was, just trying so hard to achieve greatness.
Yeah.
But just, or dare I say perfection, but falling short. You know what I mean? And again, it was perfect to me. I mean, it was, on par with what you were saying. That's what made my career was, as you say, putting other guys over.
Right.
And in doing that, you get beat up most of the time.
Yeah.
You don't win as much. It is, and that's who Shawn Michaels was. He was, he was a guy that, and that's who I am, a guy that does his absolute best to, whatever, in every aspect of my life, to be a good father, to be a good husband, to be a good person. But you know what? We all fall just a hair short. And
it it might have been easier for your body to just be a big guy with 3 moves.
Yeah, well, no, I definitely. Yeah. I mean, no doubt about that. But but that isn't. That wasn't the call in my life. And,
yeah.
I gotta be honest. If pardon me while I inject my faith, but you get asked like if Job suffered immensely.
Yeah.
Immensely in his life. But absolutely at no time was he out of the center of the will of God. And, you think about that, and it's like, holy cow. And what's more important? Is it more important to stay dead center in the will of God, with the good, the bad, and the ugly, or is it better to, get outside of it and have it go good? And, that's really where, it's really where faith is. There's nothing that says it's going to be an easy road.
I went to the WrestleMania in '99 when the Mike Tyson one, and your back was screwed up. You had screwed it up, a couple months before then, right?
Yeah, I mean, certainly the final nail in the coffin was,
right.
It was a couple months before.
And you probably shouldn't have wrestled. Actually, you definitely shouldn't have wrestled, but you were the main event. And you went through with it, and I wrote about this in the thing I wrote in March about, it's over, lights go down, people are leaving, and Triple H and China literally had to carry you back to the locker room, and at that point the TV cameras are off, like you're not doing a routine at this point, and it was clear that your body was basically broken. Did you ever think you were going to wrestle again after that?
No, I didn't. It's funny. I hear people like, "Oh, geez, you've retired lots of times." And for me, for me personally, there's a huge difference between being told you're never going to wrestle again and walking away of your own free will.
Yeah.
So that's why, to me, I've only retired once, and that was this time. But no, I mean, to be, and I've said it before, to be told that you can never do something again when you know in every ounce of your being that you're still good at it and you can still do it. But you believe, I'm not the sharpest knife in the drawer. If somebody looks at me and says, physically, you're never going to be able to do that again, and they've got 10,000 years of college and I don't,
right.
I defer to their judgment. But
at the same time, though, your body had to have been sending you signals like, "Hey, I've had it. I can't do this anymore."
Yeah. Well, you know what? For me, physically it was there. I mean, physically it was broken, but I was more broken spiritually and mentally at that time. I mean, that was, I was given just a beautiful, unique gift. And you know what? I didn't really honor it. I didn't take care of it, and so I got taught a lesson. You know what I mean? And then when the revelation hit me that of really knowing what that gift was and honoring it, taking care of it, it's amazing what you find yourself to have the ability to do, and
right.
That's truly why I came back.
How much pain were you in that WrestleMania match on a scale of 1 to 10? Was it a 10?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, easy. I mean, that's an easy question.
Yeah. You mentioned, especially in the speech you gave after the last WrestleMania match, you said, you were kind of ashamed of how you had acted in the mid-'90s and the relationships that you had with some of those guys. And then after you came back in 2002, that was what you were most proud of, the fact that those relationships changed. But you didn't really elaborate on what happened in the mid-'90s. What made you so impossible to deal with?
It was a combination of, being screwed up. I was angry. I felt like I felt like I deserved more.
Yeah.
And it's funny, once I got it, that wasn't enough. And it was, that's a great question, and I wish I had a great answer for you. I was screwed up. I wasn't taking care of myself, in a lot of different ways.
And you were young too, right? You were late 20s at that point.
Yeah, late 20s and early 30s.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
yeah.
So but you know what? I don't know, a combination of, again, not taking responsibility, for yourself and your own actions, and and again, believing that you deserve more than what you're getting. I don't know. It's spoiled, rotten brat. I guess.
Right.
That's one. And again, I guess the thing that always struck me is that once I got it, I still wasn't happy. And again, just for me, that's why again I can't help, because everything sort of it's like everything points to God for me. I was trying to fill a God-sized hole with a bunch of other stuff.
You in the mid-'90s, you were at the top of your game, and part of the reason you're at the top of the game was because you're a little bit counter. I don't want to say counter Vince. I don't know what the word would be, but you were tapping into something that wrestling hadn't really hit yet. You were Triple H. You had Kevin Nash and Scott Hall before they left, but you were kind of like the young guns and a little more boastful than usual and all that stuff. Didn't some of that probably seep over into your real life as well?
Sure. Oh yeah. There was definitely a rebellious attitude that that heck you thought was cool. And we were. There was what I felt was a shift going from the traditional way into what I felt was the new way. And and it's almost sort of on a scale of almost what I see now. I see, for instance, I get a lot of people like, oh gee, it's just not the same. It's not the same as like when you guys and you guys and you guys. Well, I can remember, the guys before me having to hear that same thing, and me thinking, come on, we can make it, we can do it, we can hold it, we can carry it, we can become those guys. And that's what a lot of the young guys face now. It takes time, and it takes a lot of times pushing against that. In our case, it was pushing against that older tradition. You know what I mean? And the double-edged sword with that is you got to make sure you're right. We were, thankfully, I believe we were right. That the direction we felt we needed to go was the right way. But it's a matter of having to get out there and do it and do it and do it and do it, and then eventually, it's one of the things I've learned. You tell people something long enough on TV, it becomes the truth.
Right.
And that's all they need to do now, because I know that, again, a lot of the young guys get a tough rap. It's tough for them, but it's tough for everybody. Everybody is having to fill shoes, that people are going to say, oh, it's not quite the same. You just got to keep going. Who
was that guy for you that everybody was comparing you to? when you were coming up?
I mean, I can't say that anybody was, comparing me to anybody. It was just, one, they didn't agree with our philosophy, that what we need to pull the veil back a little bit. We need to get them a little bit more obnoxious, rebellious, a little bit more in your face. I mean, I was telling everybody we were doing reality TV. I was, long before it was cool.
Yeah.
For a lot of weeks I was out there on Monday and I was talking about stuff that I wasn't supposed to talk about, but I was talking about it because it was on my mind and it made me mad.
Right.
I was, there were people having to, rewrite, storylines because of what I was saying on Monday night.
And you also had the internet taken off right around there. Were you aware of that? Because the internet was, at that time, all the wrestling sites were all about trying to decipher what you guys were talking about.
Well, I mean, I was, you're somewhat aware of it. I mean, I'm not, I was never really good at that stuff until just the last couple of years about knowing that. I mean, but you're aware of there being, whatever, well, I don't know what you call it. I mean, underground or, it used to be newsletters and then it turned to the internet. And that obviously reached a lot more, people. And to me, I always thought, you got to sort of, I mean, you have to perform not only to the people in the building, not only to the people watching, but also everybody else. So, I mean, and that thing, when I was younger, I got a kick out of sending a ton of mixed messages.
Yep.
I figured that way you could cover everybody,
Well, I think it was 97, the Montreal Screwjob, that became, I think, the moment that merged the internet and wrestling and just people for weeks and weeks trying to figure out what happened. You guys revisited that plot this past year when Bret Hart came back. And I always thought there was a lot of bad blood from his side toward Vince and everybody. And then you guys are in this plot together. How much of it was acting and how much of it genuinely did you guys become friends?
All of it was, none of that would have happened if Bret wasn't ready for that to happen. You know what I mean? And for whatever reason, he came to a place which is phenomenal, to where, I can't let that ruin the rest of my life, their life. It was a phenomenal thing. I mean, that's, it's one of the things that I'm most proud of. I can remember the whole time, when I came back in 2000 thinking that, wouldn't it be a great thing if, again, the world, we got, you got people in, it's like two rivaling cities, you know what I mean? And really they're going to keep rivaling, unless those leaders come together.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so, I mean, it was, to me, one of the most special moments I've been a part of because it was big on his part. It was big on everybody's part. You know what I mean? And again, one of those, to me, one of those subplot lines that, whatever, forgiveness, redemption, all that kind of stuff, you got to be able to come together about that stuff. There's fewer things that divide us. There are more things we agree on than what divides us. But we always seem to manage to focus on those few things that divide us.
Did you know that night in Montreal after it all went down, even before Bret punched Vince, did you realize even as it was happening that was going to be one of the biggest moments in the history of the sport?
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, I knew it was going to be heavy. And it's funny, even then, I could put on the veneer of, I'm doing the right thing. But underneath, a gut-wrenching, it's one thing to sit there and get on a podium and talk to everybody and go, I don't care what anybody thinks. It's another thing to sit in your hotel room by yourself and sit there and go, gosh, everybody is going to hate me. You know what I mean? It didn't, again, I mean, I know it isn't fun. It wasn't fun to be him. I can assure you it wasn't fun to be me.
But at the same time, for your career, not only are you getting the belt, but you knew that the kind of heat that you were going to get from this, in a weird way, would be the best thing that ever happened in your career.
Yeah. But I mean, again, I'm way too, emotional on that stuff. I mean, there's not, and that's where there was always the struggle with me, which is, I recognize what my business is, but so much of it, whether it's right, for whatever reason, Sylvester Stallone can get in the movie and play whatever part he wants, and nobody assumes that's who he really is. That's what his character is. I mean, his character is a man, is a real human being. Ours is different. You can tell everybody all day we're playing characters on TV, but you do something long enough, and it eventually, in the minds of a lot of people, begins to reflect, the character of who you are as a person, whether it's true or not. I mean, and that's the thing that I always struggled with was, that's, I mean, through all that, I was always thinking, I'm a decent guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, it just, so for me, it was, I'm screwed up in a lot of ways. Trust me.
Right. So let's go back like 7 years or 6 years or whatever, when you've been tag team partners with Marty Jannetty for I forget how many years, and then it finally ends. It falls apart. You're doing the barbershop. This is a watershed wrestling moment, in my opinion. Turn on him. You kick him through the barbershop window. Did you know at that point that was going to be an iconic moment?
No, I mean, you don't. I mean, I knew it was going to be big, but they hadn't. It's not like Marty and I were their top number one team.
Yeah.
So, you know it's going to be good, and it's going to be, I mean, it's one of those things, it's like having the Intercontinental Championship, and not to downplay that at all, but it's that thing of where you go, it's going to be good, but, you're still only going to be here on the card. I never envisioned me going where I went.
But at the same time, you knew you needed to kind of go on your own.
Yeah, well, I mean, the only thing that I knew at that time was that I wanted to try. I knew that I was not going to be able to live with myself having never... I could handle doing it and failing, even though I really wouldn't have liked it. I probably would have handled it well. But it would have bothered me a lot more, to go through a year, a whole career, just being comfortable and never really trying for the brass ring.
Yeah. Was it weird seeing Marty Jannetty like 5 years later when you're a big star and he'd never reached the same heights as when he was with you?
No, I always, I was one of those people that always thought Marty was so good and never, had the opportunity to have the potential that he could.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I mean, sure, there's always a certain amount of, I guess, discomfort, I guess, in that. But mostly it was, discomfort from, I knew how good he was.
Yeah. You come back in 2002. Nobody thinks that at that point that you're ever going to wrestle the way that you ended up wrestling. How does that, let's say you never come back. Let's say it just ends in 1999. How is your career remembered versus how it's remembered now that you came back?
Well, I mean, I think I go down as, a great performer, but one of the biggest jerks ever. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I got what I deserve. It's a shame. It's a shame, but you don't feel for me. And the other, I think, is dare it be heavy, it's a story of redemption, and actually getting the accolades with it, but also people going, and the character of man, the character of who you are as a person.
Yeah.
That perception is different, and that honestly, means a great deal to me.
And also, the Undertaker component, I don't think had fully hatched itself yet, and now he became kind of your natural rival. That when people think of your career, he's one of the people I think that get mentioned in the first or second paragraph, right?
Yeah, and that's something again. That's what's so I don't know. That's to me what's so cool about the whole story is that like he and I, we had some great matches, years ago, but for different reasons, again, for unknown reasons, really, just never crossed paths again, and then for that to be just such a, and it's like a 2-year story. And,
Yeah.
and heck, nowadays, it's hard to make a story last 3 weeks.
But they speed up everything so fast now. And that's one of the things I loved about the WrestleMania 25 match, was that it had the pacing of a match that I grew up, the kind of matches that I grew up watching, instead of slam, bam, boom, bam, over in 8 minutes. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, and that's the thing. You don't always, and you don't always get those opportunities, and that's one of those situations where, truth be told, that's where we use, the Undertaker and I use our seniority card and say, this is the deal. You know what I mean?
Right.
Again, there's every now and then you get booked into something where you go, well, holy cow, man, you're handcuffing me, and you get the, well, sorry. This was one of those situations where we weren't get, no matter what, you don't get the option of even trying to handcuff us. And thankfully, again, they knew that, and there was never even an issue. It was, and again, it helps when you've got the entire backing of everybody, not just from a corporate standpoint, but I have to give a ton of credit to the talent, the guys on the show. 10 years ago, you'd have had guys going, you know what, it's not my problem. If I go over, if I say, this is my WrestleMania moment, you would have run into that. Now, you don't. Guys come back, and everybody hits their marks, and they do. We want, they want us to have the ability to do what we know, we can do, and again, I have to give huge, credit to the talent of the WWE, who made sure that Undertaker and Shawn Michaels both times were allowed to go out there and put on the story that we wanted to put on.
Who is your single favorite guy to work with over that the 3 decades?
Oh, man. I have absolutely zero ability into narrowing absolutely any of my favorites into just one. But but I'd have to say I got to go between Undertaker and Triple H for the sole reason, not for the sole. I mean, other than other than all the obvious reasons, but the biggest one for me, they're the only two guys that I could make a mistake, and it would be okay.
Right.
They're the only two I could put the trust of the match, the story, absolutely everything in their hands, and let go of my control, controlling freaky, I'm a control freak when it comes to, being out there. But those are two guys that I can let drive and take my hands off the steering wheel.
Any regrets over the extended gigantic mullet you had in the early 90s, or no? I guess I have to say no, because I don't think it would take me where I'm at. You know what I mean? You take one deck out of a house of cards, man, the whole thing's going to crumble down. It really was. It was maybe the best mullet of that whole era. Maybe Jaromir Jagr. I'm not sure. I'd have to really analyze photos, but it's definitely in the pantheon. It was fantastic.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, I just, because you want to go back and go, oh gosh, I wish I'd have been nicer. I wish I'd have done this. Wish I'd have done that. But I wouldn't. Again, I wouldn't be where I'm at. So I don't want to take any. I don't want to take any spokes off the wheel.
The wrestling changed over the 20 years that you were involved, where just the bumps started to become crazy, starting in the late 90s, and it seemed like the line kept going up and up and up, and how crazy can it get? Did we go too far?
Well, I don't know. I think to a point, I think, to the point to where I think we as individuals, because there's absolutely, I can say that, I know everybody go, well, he's a WWE guy, he's going to defend him to the bitter end. There's absolutely no one who has ever put, and, I won't even say gun, I don't believe it's even said, hey, why don't you get tossed off the top of the cage?
Yeah.
Ever. You know what I mean? Ever. That's on us. You know, I mean, and you know, we're we can't help it. You know what I mean? I mean, it's one of those things. I mean, I can remember, Mick Foley telling me, after he, I saw him a short time after the Cell match, and he said, Shawn, and it just, I love the show. He goes, Shawn, he goes, I watched that first Hell in the Cell with you and Undertaker, and thought to myself, well, he wrestled for 50 minutes. They did everything under the sun.
Yeah.
I just don't think I can wrestle for 50 minutes. So my only other option is to get tossed off the top of the gate. You know what I mean? And so, to try to follow that moment. And again, that's not, no one asked Mick to do that. It's our own natural competitive nature. And it certainly wasn't, Mick's not that kind of guy. It wasn't Mick Foley going, oh, I'm going to outdo this, I'm going to outdo what Shawn did. No, it was honestly in the creative scheme of what you're trying to do, trying like, holy cow, the bar is here. How can I make this better? I mean, it really is. And I honestly do not think, for 1 second that Mick Foley, did that for any other reason than, he felt that was the best, thing for him to do to make that match special. I mean, and that's what we all do. I mean, we go in there every time, trying to be a part of history. I think
is that something? Is it something that's in your DNA?
Is not right. What's that?
Is it something that's in your DNA that you just have a fearlessness that other human beings don't have? I'm not saying yours, just in general, just people that make it to the top in WWE.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I've never been comfortable, giving it anywhere nearly as much credit as, because it sounds chivalrous to say, we've got a fearfulness. I've always thought it was, I don't know, fearlessness, stupidity, whatever. But truly, I think it's, you're caught up in really a creative, just a creative mind flux of like, holy cow, wouldn't this be awesome? And this, and you don't really give that much thought to the fact that, like all the moonsaults and things that, I can remember, I've never done any of those things except that night at the pay-per-view. I've never, I just thought of stuff, and I've had a number of people looking at me going like, can you do that? I'm like, sure. Right. You know what I mean? Have you ever done it before? No.
I'm worried my son has that DNA. He's not even 3 yet, but he just has that fearlessness, and I'm just worried that he's already like jumping off 6-foot tables and stuff. So I do wonder if it's ingrained.
It's called being a boy. You know what I mean?
Maybe.
I mean that's what it is. I mean we're wired that way.
Yeah.
And sure. I mean yes, there are some of us that are far more intellectual than others. And they will continue to look at us and shake their heads and say tisk 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 and I don't know. On the day of judgment, heck, that's one of the questions I'll ask. Hey, was I an idiot for doing all that stuff? But for me, that was the only way to do the job. And I never once thought, I'm going to do all this and I'm going to come out of this business 100%. I knew the sacrifice I was taking.
Yeah.
But I also knew that I was getting to do something that, I wanted to do since I was a kid, and I'm doing it. I don't know. I mean, everyone live life to the fullest, but then if you do, you got a bunch of people going, boy, you're not very smart.
Right.
I go, yeah, all right, fine. I receive that, and I'm not very smart, but when it came to my wrestling, I lived it to the fullest. I enjoyed everything I did. Nobody made me do anything. I wanted to do, the stuff that I did. I got it, and I did. I mean, I loved the idea that I never stood on the top rope and moonsaulted a guy through a table until, my last match. I went 26 years. I've never done that. And I'll never do it again. But it's something I've thought about over the years, and it's probably like, this is the one I want to do it. And everyone, gosh, you gonna hit him? Well, heck, I hope so. You know what I mean?
Right. Do you worry at all about, I just look at the way this is a 12-month sport, basically. and the guys don't get the time off, and it does seem like the careers can end pretty fast. Now we're learning more and more about concussions and the damage you can get from that. We had the Chris Benoit thing a couple years ago. Do you think that this sport we need to reconsider? Maybe this should be 8 months, maybe it should be 9 months, maybe we need an off season. What would you change if you could change anything?
Well, you know what I mean. I'm a soldier. You know what I mean. I'm not, maybe in the ring with another guy. I'm the general. Or certainly the whatever the guy that's in control there. But that's why I don't do the other. I mean, I don't envy having to make those decisions. I know that there's this unbelievable dynamic that is weekly TV, that is pay-per-views. That is now a publicly owned company and shareholders and whatever board members and people going, what about this? What about this? What about this? I don't envy Vince for having to balance all that. I do know that that as a performer, I mean, everybody used to always joke with me about the fact that after WrestleMania he's taking the summer off.
Yeah.
You can do that, and I hear the complaints of but this guy can't. You were Shawn Michaels, you could do that. I did it earlier. I did it before I was that guy. You know what I mean? And you can do that. And they're gonna lose their spot. You know what? I always I left for 4 years. I left for 4 years, and and when I came back, people told me that you got to do this, got to reintroduce yourself. They may not remember you. Heck, I believed that for quite some time. But I never worried about Shawn Michaels didn't lose a spot. Shawn Michaels is a spot. You know what I mean? And I think if guys, and again, it ruffles people the wrong way, but I think if guys go about their business doing it that way, which is, I'm not going to worry about it. Not this business, not the guys in the locker room. They don't control my destiny. Me and my ability will do that. I was told once by Ted DiBiase, Shawn, when I was frustrated and wanting to move up, he said, Shawn, be patient. Eventually, talent will come to the top. And it didn't happen nearly as fast as I wanted it to, but it's true. I think you can. You want to take time off? You're tired. You're sore. Take time off.
Give me 3 guys from this new generation that you have the highest hopes for.
Well, I guess it would depend on what everybody thought was the new generation, but I think, for me, number one, Randy Orton. Randy is as talented as the day is long. He's one of the things he and I have in common. There's a deepness to him to where he almost takes the job too seriously, and I did the same thing, and I don't think that's a bad thing. You know what I mean? It can get you into trouble, sure, but once you get a handle on it, like I think he has, the sky's the limit. So I think Randy's the first on my list.
It's funny that you mention him because I don't follow wrestling like I used to, but I still monitor it and I'll still watch the occasional big pay-per-view, stuff like that. He's always been the guy that jumped out at me of the next generation guys. Just like, wow, this guy's, what does this guy not have? And it didn't seem like going into that WrestleMania pay-per-view that I watched in March, didn't seem like he had hit the way he should have been hitting. Does that make sense?
Right.
I don't know what's missing.
But I mean, he's been through a lot, and then going back and forth. And the thing is, what he's learning very quickly, and it takes guys a long time. It took me a very long time. Is to think. Everybody that's in it thinks about it from the physical instead of the mental. It's a story that we're telling.
Right.
What the things that Undertaker and I did, and the things that I've done with other guys. Technically, we didn't really do any moves that people really haven't seen before. It's the mental side. It's the painting that picture and telling that story from a mental standpoint. It's connecting from an emotional standpoint. Randy has that ability. Too many guys are thinking about the physical aspect of it. And so, I mean, like I said, he'd be one on my list. And and another guy, again, he's not new, but I'll take a John Cena on my team any day, simply, if for no other reason, work ethic. You will not find a guy that'll work harder than John.
Where do you think The Rock's career would have gone had he just stuck with it?
I don't know. I mean, my guess would be anywhere he wanted it to. You know, I mean, I don't know, and you know, I don't know him that well. You know, so I don't know that there was a love and a passion in him quite like the rest of us. And I only say that because, you know, when you do move on and you can move on, I guess, you know, again, I don't know. I only know what I'm told, because I honestly did not know him that well, and I was never there when he was, you know, having his unbelievable success. But to be able to leave and have no problems with it, you know, I think that's why he's good at what he's doing now and will stay there. I think that's where his, you know, true passion is, and there's nothing wrong with that.
So you're not coming back, right?
No.
You seem like you're at peace with everything and you're in a good place.
I am. I really am. I mean, I guess everyone, you know, and I understand the skepticism with that, but I wouldn't have left if I didn't know I was ready. I mean, I actually, you know, it's funny. I made the decision a month before WrestleMania 25, and I knew that 26 was going to be my last one. I didn't know, you know, what it was, how it was going to look, you know, what it was going to be, but I knew that was my last one. Had someone, you know, a number of things happened. You know, I mean, I'm a big praying guy, and, you know, give me signs, Lord, and he was doing that, and the last thing was a guy, and I can't remember who it was, but like a month before WrestleMania 25, said, "Hey, how old's your boy now?" And I said, "He's 9." And they go, "Wow, halfway gone." And I said, "What?" And he goes, "He's halfway gone. He's halfway to 18. 18, he's gone, man." And it blew me away. And that's when I realized, hey, you know, this whole thing of, you know, you only do it while they're little, and then you'll be home, and it's like it's. And again, I've been fortunate to be here a lot, but he's halfway gone. I'm not missing the other half. Period. And again, everybody knows that. Those things are not a debatable issue with me. And the great thing about it is that the company is behind it. Everyone, the ending, the story, everything was beautiful. It was perfect. You don't get a bunch of those chances in life. To do anything else, to come back, to have another match, would taint that moment. That in and of itself is enough of a reason for me not to come back. I do not in any way. I mean, I watched the NBC special. I cried. It was, in fact, I know the story. You know what I mean? I know the story. It was beautiful. And again, obviously in wrestling, beautiful. That sounds. But I mean, you know, that's how I worked. That's how, you know, I wanted to create beautiful moments. My last one was the most beautiful thing that I've ever had the privilege of being a part of. There's absolutely no way I will ruin that.
And probably physically, not being out there for 4 years from 99 to 02, that probably worked wonders for you too, right? Or 3.5 years?
Yeah, I mean, that helps. But I mean, you know, honestly, you know, you know, between you and me, I could walk back in there tomorrow and smoke about 70% of the locker room. I'm not. That's not. You know what I mean? You know, yes, I'm beat up, but that wasn't. I've never made a decision, you know, based on something like that. You know, I mean, again, mine is pure. I don't know. It's pure creative in regards to the wrestling. You know, I mean, you know, it's a 26-year painting. You know what I mean? And I, you know, 4 months ago I looked back at it and it looks beautiful. You know, done. You know what I mean? It's just that and my kids want their daddy home.
Last question. Vince McMahon, you've known him since when? 1987?
Yes.
Where's your relationship with him now? How would you describe him in 3 sentences?
For me, the greatest boss in the world ever worked for. I know the real man, and I know the text that he sent me after that special, and he's a good man, and that's people don't know him, and so that's a heck of a lot more than 3 sentences, but it's why I walk through fire for him. That's why I walk through walls for him. Not because he's some kind of crazed Hitler, but because there is a decent dude there. He's got tough decisions to make, and I've watched him make them and weep and struggle to and watch to make those decisions. Let him who hasn't sinned cast the first stone. Walk a mile in that man's shoes. I've seen it, and I've walked with him for 25 years, and so that's my opinion of him. I will, and again, I will always be a WWE guy, and proudly say it. I am a former WWE superstar, and damn proud of it.
There you go. Shawn Michaels, you have a new website that is theshawnmichaels.com. And you're also on...
I'm learning how to do that stuff, and, the Shawn Michaels, what is it, _ with the Twitter?
Yeah, Shawn Michaels _
I'm going to visit that stuff now.
You got a Twitter during the WWE events. People want to hear your perspective.
Yeah, well, that'd mean I'd have to be watching them.
Well, maybe you should. It'll be fun.
I'm gonna start doing that. I just, you kidding? These kids have been waiting a long time for me to be home. They drag me everywhere, for heaven's sake.
All right. Well, congratulations on everything. Congratulations on walking away at the top, which not a lot of people do. I thought you really did it with a lot of dignity and class. I really enjoyed it. Enjoyed your career. And thanks for coming on the podcast.
Well, you bet. And I just want to say, what it's worth, I've read, your articles, the ones about me, and I greatly appreciate it. I want you to know that I know who you are, and I know what you do, and I very much appreciate the things you've said about me over the years.
Thank you. I appreciate it. My pleasure. Talk to you soon. Good luck.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
So I get to sign off. Whoa!
Thank you for downloading the BS Report with Bill Simmons.
Too much fun.
Check out more podcasts at the iTunes Music Store or at PodCenter at ESPNRadio.com.
Peace out.
This concludes another episode of the BS Report. And we leave you with this final thought. Only Subway helps you build your better breakfast. Choose what you love, like the delicious double bacon and cheese omelet on toasty, tasty, foot-long flatbread. Make it your own with spicy jalapenos, banana peppers, and juicy tomatoes. And while you're here, grab lunch to go, too, on your choice of freshly baked bread, like the $5 foot-long BLT, and spice it up with fiery Chipotle Southwest sauce. Subway. Eat fresh.